Okay, so just got done watching SmackDown, and right off the bat, this was better than Raw. Now, was it miles and miles better than Raw? No, I don't think this was the best week for me to come back to watch full episodes of both of them live, but it was better than Raw. And actually, speaking of Raw yesterday, I gave it a 5 out of 10, and I thought it was a terrible episode. Going back, I'm like, why did I give this a 5 out of 10? It was really bad. So I'm going to take that score back, and I'm going to give Raw a 4 out of 10. Now, going back to SmackDown here. So the main highlight, the main thing that I think most of us were looking forward to was the Gauntlet Match. Now, for me personally, regardless of what was going to happen in the Gauntlet Match, whether Kofi was winning or losing or whatever, I knew, and I still feel, and I still know, that Kofi will go on to WrestleMania to face off against Daniel Bryan for the championship. We all know that, come on. He's gonna do it, he's gonna get that championship match. It's just the question is, when and how is he gonna get it? So, one thing that I noticed throughout the show, they were making sure to bring up the fact that this was going to be Kofi's last opportunity to make it to WrestleMania. They brought that up so many times to the point where I was like, okay, if they're actually serious, if this is the last opportunity and they want you to see it that way, then Kofi's likely going to win the Gauntlet Match if it is truly his, last opportunity. Also, throughout the show, you notice all the faces, of course, they all supported Kofi Kingston during their promos, even if their promos and segments had nothing to do with Kofi. I mean, Kevin Owens in this new, by the way, speaking of Kevin Owens and this new Kevin Owens Show, I know he had the Kevin Owens Show before, but this, I guess, new version of it, I think it has potential. Kevin Owens, I find, is one of the funnier guys, or one of the guys on the microphone that kind of feels natural, like he's not reading off a script. When he's talking, it just feels like he's just saying whatever comes up in his mind. At least it just, seems that way. I think that show has potential. As far as the actual segment on SmackDown, it was the Kevin Owens Show featuring Becky, Lynch, and Charlotte. Him, egging them on, bringing up things that Ronda would say about them, this and that, and wanting to see them fight. I like that, and I'd like to see this version of the show more with other guests, other superstars, with Kevin Owens egging on the superstars and, trying to get them to fight and this and that. But as far as Becky and Charlotte fighting once again and security separating them, we've seen this before. It wasn't bad, but also we've seen this before like 3-4 times already. Actually, maybe even more than that. I feel like it's every SmackDown now or whatever. But anyways, going back to the Gauntlet Match. So I thought it was a decent Gauntlet match, except for one part that felt really stupid, but whatever. Eric Rowan is the third opponent. He comes out there, he's dominating Kofi Kingston, and then he decides to use a steel chair. First thing dumb about that is he's already beating Kofi Kingston. He's dominating him, he's got the advantage, so if he's trying to prevent Kofi Kingston from getting that championship match, why doesn't he just go ahead and beat Kofi Kingston? You're already beating him up. Kofi Kingston did not have the advantage before you used the chair. So, alright, let's forget that. Maybe he didn't want to risk it. He just wanted to inflict as much damage as possible. That's how they want you to feel about it or think about it. So, he uses the steel chair, gets disqualified to inflict as much damage as possible so he doesn't make it through the Gauntlet Match. But then once he uses the chair, he hits him with one steel chair shot, and then he ditches the chair and he doesn't use it anymore. And then after that, everything else that he did was completely legal. He could have done everything else that he did afterwards in a normal match. So he got himself disqualified, eliminated, just to hit Kofi Kingston with one chair shot. That is the only thing that he did that was actually illegal that would get him disqualified. That bear hug that he did outside, totally legal. Sending Kofi through the table while the monitors were there, by the way, totally legal, and actually probably would do more damage realistically than that one chair shot. If you're gonna get disqualified, do it right, take advantage of it, hit him with a chair shot a bunch of times. But anyways, I guess Rowan's character is supposed to be dumb or something like that. I don't know. But aside from that, I really liked how Kofi was selling the entire, Gauntlet match. The way he was selling from the very first match against Sheamus, like, he was already getting beat up by Sheamus, like, big time. And it was like, wow, if he's, this exhausted from Sheamus, Sheamus is putting on this much punishment, how is he gonna survive all the other opponents? So Kofi did a really good job there. He wasn't going through these opponents real easy and, without, breaking a sweat or anything like that. He really looked exhausted after every single match. Anyways, my favorite portion of the Gauntlet match was the Randy part. Actually, before the Randy part, Samoa Joe, once again, Samoa Joe has to be one of the sorest losers in the WWE. After he loses, of course, he has to attack Kofi Kingston, goes ahead, puts him in the Coquina Clutch. Who didn't see that coming? But even though the people booed that post-match attack, the people love Joe. Because when he came out, Kofi Kingston was laid out from that palm slam through the announce table from Rowan. When he came out, he got a pop, and the people were cheering or chanting Joe, Joe, Joe during his entrance. The people like Joe, I like Joe, and just like I said a few moments ago about Kevin Owens, where he sounds real natural on the microphone, I think he's one of the best on the mics. I feel the exact same way about Samoa Joe. I think he's also one of the best on the mics, sounds real natural. When he cuts a promo, it doesn't sound scripted, he cuts some of the best promos, and I always want them to use him better. It's cool that he's United States Champion. They also announced that he's taking on Rey Mysterio for the US title at Mania. I actually hope he retains there. But yeah, going back to Gauntlet, Kofi Kingston wins as expected there, and the New Day came into that ring to celebrate super quick. I was like, how did they get to the ring this quick after he won? But anyways, once Vince came out, I totally thought that he was going to say, hey, you know what, Kofi? I said you were going to WrestleMania if you win, not going to WrestleMania to face off for the championship, so you know what? You're going to be in a tag team match or a battle royal or something like that. You didn't announce that, and I also thought option B was he would say, you know what, you're going to get the championship match, but it's going to be for your career, or it's going to be on the line, so if you lose, you're fired. So for him to announce that he's got one more opponent to face, I didn't expect that. I totally thought that the Gauntlet match was going to be it, and then it turns out that the final opponent is Daniel Bryan. Now, I didn't really like that they chose Daniel Bryan as the final opponent, mainly for two reasons. They're kind of overdoing it with Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston matches, I feel, before WrestleMania. I mean, they already had the match prior to WrestleMania in the first Gauntlet match, and then the Elimination Chamber was down to Bryan and Kofi at the end, and that was like a good 15 minutes. And then after that, the tag team match before Fastlane, where Kofi once again pinned Daniel Bryan, and then this time as well, I feel they're overdoing it a bit with Daniel Bryan and Kofi being in the ring at the same time, and Kofi, you know, hitting Daniel Bryan, or Daniel Bryan beating Kofi Kingston. I'm not a huge fan of rematches at WrestleMania, but in this case, you know, I'm for Kofi Kingston getting that championship match. So I was kind of hoping for another final opponent, but then again, thinking about it, I'm like, who else could they have chosen? Kevin Owens is a face, and he was already in this segment, you know, on SmackDown. So I guess Daniel Bryan was like their only option that made sense at the time. But anyways, one good thing about this is I honestly didn't know whether Kofi or Daniel Bryan was going to win this. The Gauntlet match, I was pretty sure Kofi was going to win that, especially because they kept, like I said, bringing up that it was going to be his last opportunity to get the Mania match. And this, I was like 50-50. I wasn't sure whether Bryan was going to win or Kofi was going to win to the very end, when Bryan was going for the knee. And by the way, Bryan did the yes taunt before the knee. Now in commentary, they were saying that he's mocking the WWE Universe. I was actually thinking, did he forget that he ditched the whole yes thing and he's doing it out of like instinct or something like that? I'm not sure, but we'll go with what the commentary said, and he was mocking the WWE Universe. I didn't know even until that point whether he was going to connect with the knee or if Kofi was going to reverse that or stop him with Trouble in Paradise. So that was an unpredictable match for me, and I'm a fan of unpredictability. So Bryan picks up the win there, and I believe, actually, yeah, that makes them now 2-2. So if they stop it there, which I do hope they stop it there before Mania, then the Mania match would be the tiebreaker, because Kofi Kingston already beat him in 2 non-title matches, Bryan beat him in the Chamber, and now beat him here too. So, you know what? It's not too bad that they picked Daniel Bryan, because now they're even, and Mania is the tiebreaker. Alright, now that I think about it, alright, it's cool. But yeah, now Kofi is without a championship match for now, but obviously he's gonna get it somehow. Now I'm left wondering, what are they gonna do next week? And I like when I'm left wondering what's gonna happen next week. And in this case, how is Kofi Kingston gonna get that championship match now? He put him through that Gauntlet match, he said he had to win this. That's over and done with, so what could he do next to get that championship match? And could it involve the superstars in the back? Because during the match, I found this really interesting. Throughout the whole show, the superstars, they made sure the faces were supporting Daniel Bryan. And in the back, during the Gauntlet match, more and more people were gathering around to watch the match as it went on. So now, I'm wondering, will they involve the other superstars? And will they be in support of Kofi and, like, I don't know, like rally up for Kofi or something like that in some way. Who knows, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in regards to this on SmackDown next week. Overall, I thought it was a decent show. I do think the reason why the IIconics also beat the Tag Team Champions is so they can be inserted into the Tag Team Championship match at WrestleMania, which I'm for because I think if it's just Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Beth Phoenix and Natalya, I'm not that interested in that, but making it a triple threat with the IIconics spices it up a bit. And also, one last thing, I love that Randy brought back the stupid in the match against Kofi Kingston, calling him stupid, just like he did all those years back. I like those types of throwbacks or callbacks, whatever you want to call it. So that's about it for a rating for this SmackDown. I give it like a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was great or amazing or anything like that. So that's it for that. In the comment section, let me know what you guys thought. You guys felt the same way about Raw yesterday. You thought it was bad as well, so I definitely wasn't in the minority there. I'm out. See ya.